Good morning, everybody. Once again, welcome to all of you to our third webinar. The previous two webinars that we had on the 3rd and the 17th of April are available. So for those of you who joined us for the first time and may want access to the previous two webinars, please do get in touch with us and we'd be happy to share the online links with you all. We welcome those who've been part of our earlier webinars. We welcome you again. And for those who are joining us for the first time, thank you. And we hope that you'll be part of our journey for our future webinars as well. Today's webinar, in the context of understanding the FINA facility rules, has come about, as it's been a consistent question of how do we design a pool and how do we interpret the FINA facilities rules. So it's an attempt towards in that direction to support the key stakeholders here in India who are with us to get some starting perspective. We understand it's still a deeper subject and we are happy to support each of you as we move forward beyond this particular webinar for any specific requirements. Just a few house rules. Request everyone to be on mute, and we'll also request each of you to turn off your videos. This will help improve the quality of the webinar and the quality of content you receive. So for those who joined us for the first time, I'll just do a quick introduction of who we are. So today's session, to begin with the index, we'll be talking about, of course, FINA and the facility rules regarding swimming pools, the FINA certification process. We today have with us one of our team members from HQ as well, Julia Orsatti. But again, let me start by introducing the team, the Myrtha Pools India first. I'm joined today by Mr. Jaishankar Arunachalam, who's the National Sales Head, and Saif Nadeem, who's the Sales Manager for North India, based out of Delhi. They will be co-presenting with me, and like I said, this time joined by Julia Orsatti, who's the Installation After Sales Manager at HQ, who oversees the global installations, and he will specifically be talking about FINA certification, the FINA certification process, as he has been closely involved with many of the top installations around the world, including for the World Championship and the Olympic Games. And I'm Hakimuddin Habibullah, the Managing Director, looking after India and South Asia of Myrtha Pools India. I'm an Olympian swimmer and an engineer, and that's where I love the journey of both the engineering and swimming. A quick brief about Myrtha Pools. Myrtha Pools comes in with over 60 years of global experience. We have installations in 70 countries. We have 270 direct employees. We have 5 subsidiaries around the world. India is one of the newer ones and the first in Asia. We have 400 representatives, and most importantly, we build 1,500 swimming pools a year around the world, and more than 300 of them being large-size facilities. So that gives us the know-how and experience that gives us the confidence to share this more with you. So Myrtha Pools is the FINA partner. We have been the official FINA partner since 2009 and have been consistently building swimming pools for the Olympic Games and World Championships. Now, why do we need an international level aquatic facility? So this graph, just at a very elementary level, is put together to put some context to why we feel it's important. So as you see, I mean, we've just captured from 1992 onwards, how aquatic sports has been dominating or having a big basket of medals. I'm actually, just half an hour prior to this webinar, I was part of another session which was being conducted by the Sports Authority of India along with the Swimming Federation of India for the coaches. And today we had the Honorable Minister of Sport, Kiran Rijiju, actually address all the coaches. And in his speech, which lasted over half an hour, he stressed about how swimming is a critical sport for India's future. And a part of it was, in the context of what you are seeing in front of you, where swimming today has 49 gold medals at stake at the Tokyo Olympic Games in aquatic sports, and that puts aquatic sports at the top of the top as the top sport, a gold medal winning sport, and these are gold medals we are talking about. So aquatics is number one, followed by athletics, cycling, gymnastics, and wrestling, as you can see. So aquatics is a very important sport, and the government as well is very keen to see how things drastically change in the near future towards enabling India to be a stronger contender at bigger competitive events as well. Here, I would like to welcome my colleague Saif to take this presentation forward and introduce FINA.
Thank you, Akeem. So guys, we've got a very simple yet peculiar question at our hands. What is FINA? How do you define an international federation? In the next few minutes, we will try and answer that and discuss the objectives of an organization like FINA. So to start with, FINA is the Fédération Internationale de Natation, which is in French. The English translation basically means the International Swimming Federation. It was founded in 1908, which makes it a 111-year-old organization, which is also the governing body for aquatics in the world. The organization is headquartered out of Switzerland, from the beautiful city of Lausanne. As of 2020, FINA oversees the competition in 6 aquatic sports, namely swimming, diving, artistic swimming, water polo, open water swimming, and high diving. The reason I brought up as of 2020 is because the sport of high diving has been added to the FINA disciplines as late as 2013. So that's fairly new. Swimming as a sport was first introduced to the Olympics in 1896. And as per the latest figures from 2019, the FINA Development Council reports, there are more than 2.5 million swimming athletes in the world. And yes, these are professional athletes, not weekend swimmers like me. Diving is the second most recognized aquatic sport by far. It was introduced to the Olympics in 1904. As of today, there are approximately 80,000 professional divers in the world. Artistic swimming, the underwater ballet. I'm not sure how many of you have actually seen the artistic swimming, but we've got a small video presentation at the end just to make you aware about artistic swimming. So the artistic swimming, which is also called the underwater ballet, has more than 135,000 athletes competing globally, and it became an Olympic sport in 1952. Water polo was the oldest team sport to feature in the Olympics when it made its debut in 1900. So can you imagine that before the likes of hockey and everything else, water polo being the oldest team sport. It was after that it was picked up by the FINA World Championship when the competition started in 1973. Open water swimming, which is widely practiced globally, does not catch so much media attention as swimming, but still the athletes practicing it don't seem to bother. There are more than 2 million swimmers who play the game professionally throughout the globe. And last but not the least, of course, we're going to talk about high diving. So this is a fairly new sport which requires extreme courage as a prerequisite. Male athletes are expected to dive from 27-meter high platforms, and female athletes are expected to jump from 20-meter high platforms. So that's roughly 88 feet and 65 feet from the air. Being added to the FINA World Championship in 2013, this extreme sport in which the speed of the diver's body can touch up to 90 kilometers per hour during the descent. The number for the actual participating athletes is very less as of now. There are only 76 athletes globally who are practicing high diving professionally. As you can imagine by now, the numbers of practitioners and the high stakes involved, FINA is one of the largest sports federations globally with 209 members. So that's 209. To put that number in perspective, the United Nations has only 193 recognized members as of April 2020. So that's much higher than the United Nations. The continental breakup is given on the slide. The African Swimming Federation has 52 members. There are about 45 members in the North and South Americas. Asia has a number at about 45. Europe has 52 members. And Oceania, which includes the area of Australia, New Zealand, and the other Pacific Islands, give about 15 members to FINA. So let's be clear. FINA is a pretty big organization. But the question still remains, what does it do as a big organization and what are its objectives? So the day-to-day daily activities for FINA can be summarized in the following few points. FINA drives global awareness on the importance of physical activity through aquatic disciplines. It defines the rule for the harmonious worldwide development of swimming, water polo, and all the 6 disciplines. It ensures the application and principles of fair play. It ensures a drug-free sport. It reinforces international cooperation through the member nation federations, encourages national authorities to make swimming and aquatics a part of education, assures a long-term calendar for the main competitions, and of course, raise awareness on international sustainability. But there's also one more important aspect which we're trying to cover in this presentation, which is also a key component of FINA's objectives. FINA encourages the increase of standard facilities for aquatic sports throughout the world. And how does FINA manage to accomplish all this? It's through forming specialized technical committees. These specialized technical committees take up different aspects of the role. So, which means FINA has a technical committee for swimming. It has a technical committee for diving, has one for media, anti-doping measures, has a technical committee for coaches, athletes, and even the facilities. All these committees have expert members who take care of the disciplines on a day-to-day basis. The picture that you see on the screen is of Mr. Virendra Nanavati. He's one of the leading faces from the swimming world in India. He is India's connect at FINA. Now this brings us to the next set of questions. We've learned that the FINA has technical committees for facilities, but what is the need of having the facility rules? Okay, 4 major points. Setting design standards, providing the best environment for high performance competition, providing guidance on design and construction requisites, on the type of pools for different aquatic sports, define tolerances for acceptability which need to be respected during design, installation, and construction of a facility, and fourth, providing a level playing field to train and prepare for international events. So among all this jargon, if you just break it down, if you just follow these FINA facility rules religiously, what can be achieved? The experience of having a competition in Russia will not be different from having a competition in Nigeria. The training done in India will not be different from the training facilities and the training done in Canada. And lastly, the training facility in Sri Lanka will not be different from the competition facility in France. Like I mentioned, FINA forms an panel of experts who take care of different aspects of the game. The FINA Facilities Technical Committee is headed by globally recognized sports architect Joaquin Puyol. He's based out of Barcelona in Spain, and he's an architect by position, like already mentioned there. This architect at the helms of the Facilities Committee advises on the design of aquatic venues and has been instrumental in improving the game's experience from the last few years. I find it important to mention here that Mr. Puyol has also been the author for the Pools for All document. This is a document for the Sustainable Aquatic Facilities, which was made by FINA in association with Myrtha Pools. Now a new question arises. Do all the FINA disciplines have facility rules? Well, no, not at all. Not all have facility rules. While all sports have rules to play and conduct of the games, but only those sports which can be performed in a controlled environment have facility rules. I mean, to put things in context, let's address the elephant in the room. Open water swimming. So open water swimming is supposed to be done in open water. Hence, there is no space to make facilities for that event. While rules do exist for the game, of course, it's more regarding the length of the swimming and the acceptable water temperatures at the time of the race, but there are no rules on the minimum depth and the field of play design per se. To take the presentation further, I would like to invite my able colleague Jay.
Thank you, Hakeem. Thank you, Saif. First of all, good morning all, and I welcome to the third webinar in the series again. I would also like to appreciate everyone as there has been a considerable repeat audience for these sessions. This is very encouraging and even a very positive gesture. Also, please note that there is considering the timelines and the mix of crowd, we are trying to keep the sessions not very detailed but technical enough. But in case if you feel that you want to know more about anything on the subject we are presenting or speaking, please reach us out directly. We can have an exclusive session for you and your team as well. We also encourage in case if you have any suggestions for the new topics which you feel we can contribute, please, while we have zeroed in couple of sessions, the couple of other sessions as well. But if you have any suggestions, please mention in the chat box. We will be happy to share it. So as said by Saif on the medal tally. So if you could see, there are about 49 gold medals in total in aquatic sport, out of which the swimming pool alone, the swimming pool, when I say the pool where the swimming with a small change for artistic and water polo will contribute about 39. So about 70% of the total 49 medals which is at stake. So our presentation also aligned largely on the swimming today because considering the amount of gold medal which is at stake here. So if you look at. So let me introduce the FR rules, FINA facility rule. Before getting into the FINA facility rule, as there is a preamble as well, I would like to mention it that the FINA guidelines are only for the competition or the training for competition. It does not cover the pool which is for general public usage. It doesn't cover them. It also does not give you any guidelines of safety, hygiene, and other aspects. And finally, even a small element like not very small, but a critical element like it doesn't cover anything on the specially abled pool. So what I'm trying to make a point here is this FINA facility rule is a good to begin with, good to know about, a good to implement as well. But then there are other factors like from the designing point of view, as a designer, as a client, as a owner, they have to contribute to make this entire project more as per the place as per the objective and as per the location it has been decided for. So going ahead so please note during this entire session we will try to cover everything about this. I mean the rules about the swimming. So we will have the pages from the FINA FINA rule books, and we will try to interpret them with certain images. So I will have to read out each and every line. So just bear with me for that. So now to begin with, this is the first general rule, what it says about. So it talks about 3 different types of pool. the Olympic standard pool, the general standard pools, and the minimum standard pools. So if I go to the next slide, it will explain you what exactly these pools are. So if you look at the FR 1.1, the main pool, you can hold Olympic or World Championship in this. The other pool, which was general standard pool, you could hold events from Youth Olympic Games and till World Cups, Junior World Cups. The last one, it speaks about all national competitions and any other event which is recognized by FINA. So this is the explanation of this particular slide. In case if you have any questions, please write it on the chat. We will keep answering them as well. Going ahead. Okay, so please also be aware that FINA does not only restrict up to 50-meter length pool, but also it talks about 25-meter pool. Our previous two sessions, we have spoken about 50-meter pools in large, but again to clarify here, FINA also recognizes pools for 25 meters as well. So there are short courses which is called, if you look at the dimensional tolerances. So these are 2.1 facility rules, which I would explain in the next slide. So 50-meter pool is actually 50.010 between the touch panels or touch pad, the way it is written. That I will explain what are the touch pads later, and minimum 50.00. Similarly, for a short course, it is 25.010 and 25 meters. Between wall to wall, the 50-meter becomes maximum 50.030 and minimum 50.020. Similarly, for a 25-meter pool, it becomes 25.030 to 25.020. So this is the dimensional tolerance of the pool. If you look at other things, these dimension tolerances are actually calculated at 300 meter above the water surface and 0.8 meter below the water surface. So if you look at the slide again, so these are the points which we are trying to cover. The tolerance have to be consistent 0.3 meter above and 0.8 meter below the water surface. So this is about explaining this. The other starting blocks and all we will come in the later slides. So these are typical cross sections showing the R panels and the dimensions, the water levels, the position of the starting blocks, the head walls here. I'll move ahead to the next one. Now, depth. Now, this is one again which I want to explain very clearly. FINA says it has to be 1.35 minimum depth. So I have seen many people asking me what should be a minimum depth as per FINA, but we have to see what is the objective of the pool, what is the purpose of the pool. So depending upon the purpose of the pool, as I said initially also, this is FINA's guideline for a competition or for a pool for a competitive training. But if you're trying to build a pool for an institution, for a training academy, or for a public usage, this height could completely vary unless you have any other objective linking it with FINA. So this speaks about 1.35, but depth has to be chosen by the engineer depending upon the purpose of the pool. So this is one. So I will explain this detail in the next slide as again. So if you look at this is 1.35, which is speaking about this is 90 degree. The wall has to be exactly 90 degree. So this is a 90 degree. The beta is a 90 degree. 1.35 has to be at least till here, the 6 meter mark beginning from 1 meter, and rest could be 1 meter. So this could be 1.35 and here it could be 1 meter. That's what the FINA rule says. It also talks about having a recess steps. So these are the recess steps in a section which you could see in the image here. It is actually 1.2 meter below the water level. This is about 150 mm. This overall total this is about 1.2 meters from the water surface. So these are the points which is mentioned in that particular rule. Again, there's one more point on the gutters. So there has to be gutters on all the 4 sides as mentioned in the FINA rule. So if you look at these are the gutters on all the 4 sides, which in our case to encourage positioning of the starting block, we have to use a head wall to also respect the 300 mm elevation above the water surface. So this is the head wall, which allows you to have 4-side water flow as well, even including the end wall, and give a positioning of a starting block. So this is in this particular slide which talks about. Coming to lanes. While lane is generally only assumed it's only for partitioning or creating lanes between the, just to create lanes. But if you look at technically lanes have larger objective to play as well. So as it said, it's not only a separation, but also to reduce the pool waves and also reduce waves going through one side of the rope to the other side so there is no bouncing effect. So each lane is about 2.5 meters. There are about 10 lanes, so each is about 2.5 meters. Now, this image will explain. So I will have to read everything so that it gets connected with the image here. So I'm reading out each and every line to make it more clearer. So lane drop has to be actually recessed into the wall as it's shown here. At any point of time, this should not be more than 200 mm is what is written. Tension spring and take-up rail should measure less than 200 mm. This is the portion. The anchor placement in the pool deck should not extend more than 10 mm, which is about again this or the what you call this one, which the red one. It should not extend beyond 10 meters. Also, the anchor position such a way that the reducing components of the pool shall be 50% below the surface of water. So as the drawing explains, so all the disc has to be 50% submerged under the water. Yeah. The minimum diameter of the components should not be less than 150. Shall be 0.15. The anchor should withstand a load of 20 kilonewton. So the design of disc and float should not influence the length of the rope. The lane rope should be equipped with a tension spring to absorb any tensile force of 12 at sudden tensile force of 12 kilonewton. At 15-meter mark at each end wall, the pool and component shall be distinct from the surrounding components. In 50 meters, the component shall be distinct at 25 meters. So if you look at the previous, so you could look the different color combinations, the red color distinct for the first 10 meters. So these all are captured in this particular drawing. Moving next, starting platform. So if you look at again the starting platforms, so this is a part of the FINA guideline. So the height of the starting block has to be between, so from here to here, it should not extend beyond 0.5 to 0.75, which is 3.9A. Surface area of the platform, that is the top of the platform, this top, should not be more than 0.5 by 0.5. Maximum slope, the 3.9, the beta should not be more than 10 degrees. The starting block should have a setting backplate. The hand grips again, the 3.9D should be within 0.3 to 0.6. Then the numbering. So yeah, the numbering has to be distinctly visible the way it shows in the image. So this is on the starting platforms. Now, before getting into these details, I would just like to explain these drawings. So if you look at, there are dimensions very clearly mentioned of each element coming into the swimming pool. So a false start is actually at 15 meters from the end wall. Now this shorter side is called the end wall. So from here it is about 15 meters. The backstroke indicator, which is this one on the right image, which should help somebody doing this kind of backstroke swimming to identify where he's going to, he's going to hit the wall after 5 meters. It's an indication. So it's called a backstroke indicator, which is at 15 meters as per the plan. The drawing plan you can see. These are 25 meter in center. So these are the various lanes with the lane markings. So this flag drop, which is for backstroke indicator, has to be 1.8 meter above the water surface level and should be 5 meters away from each end wall. The backstroke ledge, the one which you could see in very small detail here, this is a small strip or it's a small, which is called a ledge, is actually 4 centimeter below the, either below or above the water level. It has to be 65 centimeter long. The ledge must be 8 centimeter in height. The depth, overall depth has to be 8 centimeter. Width could be around 2 meters with a degree of 10 degrees slope. These are the false start indicators, as I said, are located here. Water conditions. Again, another important aspect, that water. So if you look at the water temperature has to be between 25 to 28 degrees Celsius throughout the competition, or even, training for the competition. During the competition, particularly the water movement, if you look at a 50-meter pool, the water discharge has to be around 220 to 250 meter cube. For a 33-meter pool, it has to be 150 to 180. Now, these guidelines are there to avoid any kind of turbulence or current in the pool, which will affect the overall competition. So this has to be taken care during the competition. Now, in the next slide, we will also explain how this is also tested by FINA. Salinity of the water. So your water salinity should be less than 3 grams per liter of salt. So this is another aspect from the salinity point of view. Now, how do we determine the appreciable current? So what actually happens is between the two lanes, which is spaced at 2.5 meter, we have a cross lane, which is again distant at 2.5 meter. Within this, we actually place a basketball of a with water filled of density, certain to contribute certain density. There are guidelines for that as well, which is placed in the center of this particular square. This is a square which is now formed. So the turbulence is tested in such a way that within 60 seconds, this basketball should not touch any of the edges of the lanes. So that's the objective. So if this happens, if it does not touch within 60 seconds, it means the water is not creating any turbulence. Now this is actually practiced at this is actually tested 5 meter away from each head wall or end wall, as I say, and it should be performed on the lane number as mentioned 1368 on both these sides. Now, these are lane markings. So if you look at the lane markings, okay, the first is the lighting. So for regular competition, the lighting should be not less than 600 lux. For Olympics and World Championship, where you have enough coverage, lot of people viewing that event, over the pool, it has to be minimum 1500 lux. These are the guidelines. Now coming to lane marking, the lane marking also the colors have to be very contrast to the pool color, which is generic requirement. Yeah, sorry, I have just missed the view in between. So the width of this lane is about 0.2 meter, and so I will show it in the next slide also. And maximum can be 0.3. The length is 46. Yeah, I'm sorry again. Actually, I'm missing the images in between, maybe because of bandwidth issue. So there's a small pause when I'm talking between. For a 21 meter, for a 21 meter, for a 25 meter pool, this should be 21 meters. So I will just explain the details. So these are the target, these are the wall targets detailing, which I will explain later again. Yeah. So if you are for a 50 meter, this is about 46 meter. So this distance is about 2 meters from each of the end wall. This width is about 1 meter. This particular dimension is about 1 meter. So this is also mentioned very clearly. These are the wall targets again. The dimensions of 0.2 to 0.3 is the width here and across the height here. So this is about the wall targets and lane markings. Now coming to bulkhead, in my previous sessions I had explained that this bulkhead is actually nothing but a vertical partition to split a pool into two, or to make a 50 meter pool, even for a 25 meter pool. So we could achieve a lot of things using a bulkhead. So this is also one of the elements which is very well described in FINA. So it has been told what kind of metal it has to be made, how it has to be laid. So it explains this. So if you see, as I explained, so there are two bulkhead in this case in the entire 50 meter pool, which will actually split the pools into for a multiple objectives to obtain, either to have a 225 meter pool or have multiple trainings. So this is the objective of bulkhead in this. So if you look at the bulkhead position, if it is in the lateral on the leftmost side, this pool exactly becomes a 50 meter pool. So this is a part of again a FINA document which says that if the bulkhead is placed on the leftmost end as shown in the drawing, you have a 50 meter pool with all the details, backstroke, fall start properly placed. If you go in the other position, sorry about this. Yeah, when the bulkhead is placed in the center position, you have 225 meter pool properly. So you can have your 25 meter short course training as well as competition as well in this. Now I had spoken about a touchpad, so people who possibly would not have got access to see a touchpad. So these are the touchpads. If you could see the yellow color, which is about 0.9 meter in height, close to about 1 meter, which is placed on a head wall. Now this thickness is about 0.01, possibly a 10 mm in this particular case. In this, and the height, now if you look at the location, it has to be 0.3 meter above the water surface and 0.6 meter below the water surface. So this actually they are mounted on both the end walls. They're on both the end walls, and it works. It is actually works on a sensor where when the swimmer is applying any pressure, it actually creates a contact and actually records the timeline. So this is called actually the touchpads. I would play a small video to people to understand. Meanwhile, I'll invite my friend and colleague Julio to prepare himself for the session. So I will just introduce a small video which will show you what an artistic swimming is all about. A small break to the entire this. So this is the diving. Sorry, this is the diving one.
Triple somersault, quadruple twist.
This is a high diving ladder.
5.2. This is a monster dive. Boy! He has absolutely smashed that. The crowd are really going wild here now. Ever the showman, ever the champion.
Yeah, so meanwhile, I will introduce my colleague Julio to take us through the FINA certification process. Julio, can you take the control of your system?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Julio.
So good morning, everybody. I really hope everybody can hear me well. Thank you very much for our Indian partners and team to invite me to this conversation. As they said, I've been involved in international installations for FINA swimming pools for many years now, and I have quite a lot of experience. Today, I'd like to guide you through the certificate itself. So we have a look to the document itself and go through the points that needs to be verified. I think our team so far has done a great job in describing all the important matters in the FINA rules. So I'm sure that you will find in the certificate itself all the elements that we have seen so far in the presentation. Let me say a couple of things before. All these certificates are available on the internet. Just Google FINA rules and search on the FINA website, and you'll be able to find all these PDF documents with all the certification and the rules. Also, I have to say that in the past years, there was not too much attention to the certification of the pool as in the last 3 years or so. As you have seen in the presentation, the number of medals in swimming has gone up quite a lot in Olympic Games, and many more events are held worldwide. So there was a need in FINA to define better how to certificate a pool for competition, not only in swimming but also in water polo and diving. So as it has been done for few more years in athletics or in other sports, they wanted to define the field of play in a better way. So let's start with a standard certificate for the swimming pool. So this is not the certificate for Olympic Games and World Championships. The differences are not big; they're mostly just the numbers. So I'm scrolling through the standard one. It starts with just few information on the swimming pool. So the drawing, the key plan, the pool drawing, the section of the pool. And you will see that at the end of each page, there is a paragraph where you need to write down and sign the names of the surveyor, the pool expert, the federation member, and the federation. So I will go through these in just a second, but these 3 people involved. So the surveyor, the pool expert, and the federation member are 3 key figures to have the certificate approved. This is a very important point because the certificate cannot be issued by the pool company, the general contractor, the architect that designed the pool. None of these people that have been involved somehow in the construction or the design can certificate the pool itself. The people that can do a certification are external actors to the process of the construction. Otherwise, it would be like me checking and certifying my own work, which this would have been the case probably a few years ago, but now 3 external people need to verify this. Starting from the surveyor that is identified very clearly in the measurement criteria that you can see here. So shall be done by a certified surveyor appointed and approved by the member in the country in which the pool is situated. So it is important to define a surveyor that is known to the federation as reliable to take the measurements of the pool, to the local federation. So not by FINA, but by the Indian Swimming Federation, for example. The surveying equipment is very well defined as well. I'm talking to architects, so I'm sure you understand what the total station is and the angle measurement accuracy and the distance of the accuracy. The fact that FINA requires the calibration papers for the total station, and they also usually require the CV for the surveyor. And they also define that all the measurement should be taken using a prism or a target. So it is important to fill the first line here. The surveyor needs to be approved and chosen very carefully and have all the documentation. The pool expert is considered to be any professional, so architect, an engineer, water consultant, anybody that has proven experience in swimming pool design and understands the swimming pool technology and the FINA rules. Therefore, it could probably be the architect that designed the pool, but as we said earlier, it's not possible. So it needs to be a third party. In case you will have a doubt, or when people have doubts about who that person can be, we know a lot of professionals that have been doing this for quite a long time. So I'm sure we can arrange meetings or introduce them. And then the federation member. So I don't know which level of the federation the approval will be done, but someone from the Indian Federation. Once we have defined the 3 key people, and once we have found the right surveyor, then there is also description on how the measurements should be taken. So you will see that there are some measurements that need to be taken with a pool full of water, or with 5 centimeters below the water level, just to avoid the reflection while measuring. Some measurements need to be taken with the empty pool. Once the pool is full, the water should be 25 to 28 degrees. There's a description of where exactly the pool needs to be measured in 2.1 and 2.3, which is the length, so at the center of each lane. The width of the pool should be measured on both ends of the pool. And there's a description of where the depth should be measured. Of course, it doesn't need to be measured at any point on the slab, but at least in 5 points per lane. And the description of the verticality. So you see that they go very much into detail of the measurement. And you can imagine that with the prefabricated structure, especially with our technology, I'd say it's very easy to meet these measurements, while with other construction techniques, it might be slightly harder. The first paragraph is the orthogonality of the pool. So, of course, the architect wants to be sure that the pool is square, and they need the 4 angles and the 2 diagonals. I guess this is standard practice. We go directly to the length. So this is point 2.2 that was defined as needs to be taken with a pool full of water, with water from 25 to 28 degrees. There's a short description of the length. As Jay was saying before, the length needs to be from 50 meter and 2 centimeter, or 25 and 2 centimeter, to 50 meter and 3 centimeter, or 25 to 3 centimeter. This is because when we insert the touchpads, we're going to take out 20 millimeters in total, which will give us the right length of the pool, which has to be less than, so not less than 50 meter and maximum 1 centimeter longer. There's a brief diagram with a description. You see this is the configuration with 2 head walls and the 2 measurements, one on the top of the head wall, one at the water level, which need to be reported here. There is also the same paper with a description of the pool with the bulkhead. So Jay was saying that it's possible to install a bulkhead in the pool, which is a movable end wall that can split the pool in 2 parts. When this is parked on one side of the pool, the length has to be taken between the bulkhead and the head wall and needs to be reported here. There is also a case where the bulkhead can be installed, can be placed in the middle of the pool to have 2 25 meters field of plays. So in that case, both of them needs to be measured, and the measurement need to be reported here. Once we go down, we see that there's also the paragraph for the width. So the description of where the width has to be taken is in the first paragraph of the document. There's a paper that describes, a paragraph that shows the depth. So where we have to pick up the depth and the measurement. Then there's a paragraph about the walls. This is, I think, one of the most important, because FINA required quite a strict tolerance in verticality of the walls. So they basically want to be sure that there is a perfect alignment between the head wall, the starting block, and the vertical part of the wall that then is measured for length. As you saw earlier, we're measuring the length only on the center of the pool. So they need other measurements to make sure that the whole vertical wall is properly aligned. Then there's a paragraph about the rest ledges that we saw in the pictures earlier. And then we move to more specific items like accessories, so the lane lines. As you can see here, there's and through the whole document, the FINA rules, as in the facility rule document, have been copied here. So everything that you have been shown until now and is present in the facility rules, it's also here reported. So the lane length shall be at least 2.5 meter wide, with 2 spaces at least 0.2 meter outside, blah, blah, blah. Needs to be checked and marked as compliant or not. 8 lane pool with the color of the lane lines and all the other information needs to be checked. I'm sorry, I don't know if you're seeing some. Okay. There's a description of the starting platforms, so how the starting platforms needs to be installed, all the spatial requirements and everything, so this needs to be checked as well. Numbering of the starting blocks, the backstroke turn indicators, the backstroke ledge. So all these are accessories for competition, the false start, and etc. And this is also another very important point is the water conditions. So not only the swimming pool tank, not only the accessories for competition, also the water conditions needs to be tested or checked. So they need to be marked as compliant or not compliant. Very, very interesting is that it is reported what is the appreciable current, and the fact that the FINA wants a test run by the operator of the pool with a video with at least 6 frames to basically prove the test. So I don't know if you have experiences with dye tests in the swimming pool industry, is where you inject ink in the filtration system to make sure that the filtration is regular all over the pool surface. Usually when you do those tests, you have to report with videos and show the time frame. The same is with these, but for currents. So FINA has been very strict lately on this matter because the federations are investing more and more money to train their athletes, and the competitions are becoming more and more important. So everyone wants to be sure that the field of play is regular in every condition. Then we move to lightning. As Jay was saying, here is not this document is not for Olympic Games and World Championships, so we're talking about 600 lux. And then, of course, there is the measurement of the lane marking that needs to be done with the pool empty and need to be taken very carefully, as again, this defines the proper field of play. So once all these elements have been checked and the document has been signed, then if there are some issues or things that need to be corrected or things that still needs to be discussed, some comments might be added. There is not so as you can see, the certification is done in different steps. So the surveyor has to go when the pool is empty, then when the pool is full, and then has to come back when the FINA official and the expert is on site and needs to check the measurement. So usually the surveyor has to come back 3 times. In these 3 times, there might be different situations on site. Or, for example, maybe the touchpads are not installed, or maybe the bulkhead is not finished yet. So there are different moments during the construction and different moments in during the job sites. So it might be useful to add some comments here to be checked at the next time or the next measurement. So once all this is done, everybody applies a signature and a date, and the certificate is completed. I hope I have been clear so far. If you have any questions, just write in the chat, and I give the word back to my colleagues.
Thank you very much, Giulio. Appreciate your, your inputs. We'll see how we can maybe pull you in for some of our other sessions where, and based on the interest, we can dive in deeper into some of the construction challenges that you have experienced at some of these bigger events as well. I mean, and of course, the regular pools that we have been building around the world. With this, we have been, trying to answer some of your questions, especially those who've been putting their questions in the chat. We've been trying to respond to them this time. We're trying out different formats to see how we can keep the conversations with you, try and address your questions in time. At this stage, I'm not seeing any questions Okay, sorry, there's one question that came in right now towards the end, asking what is the minimum deck area required as per FINA around the pool? The answer to that is there's no definition by FINA specifically as per their facilities rule document, or specifying anything in terms of the deck area required around the pool. That being said, it is a point that does come up when a special event is being considered. So if there is a big event, then that point does come into play. Some points of which have been, there's an attempt that has been made to address some of these in the book called Pools for All, which, like one of my colleagues earlier mentioned, has been derived by the Facilities Committee with the support of Myrtha Pools. So based on your requirement, we'd be happy to kind of dig deeper with you and help validate the deck area around the pool for your specific requirement. But as such, FINA doesn't define the deck area required. Like, I'll just highlight a few key points of what my colleagues mentioned earlier. We focused this webinar on the 50-meter pool because the 50-meter pool becomes the venue for also the water polo and artistic swimming. So literally 39 out of the 49 gold medals that we saw in the earlier slide can be achieved by the appropriate design of the swimming pool itself. The other pool, which is a special space in itself, is the diving pool. And in India, we've seen that over the last few years, the number of diving pools have reduced. It does, so it is a special space. It does require special attention and detail at multiple levels, including safety. So that's an area that we'll be happy to, based on your interest, we'll be happy to, sit down with you directly, or we can have a special webinar on the topic of a diving pool. And like we shared earlier, the idea of sharing the high diving or the artistic swimming was just to give some context to some of the sports that are not commonly understood in India, but are very beautiful and we currently haven't yet fully leveraged those sports. The another question that's just come up is, what is the importance of lane colors used? So there are two types of lane colors. So one is in terms of the red color that needs to be there in the first 5 meters. Then you have the markers at the 15, the 25. So those are very important. Those are important for the swimmers to keep track of where they are, and that's the importance from the participant perspective. In terms of the other coloring, the other color coding that you might have observed, that is something which I do not have the answer for, and it's an interesting question, and we will try to find out more as to the larger context of why some are green, blue, and yellow. But yes, like I said, the first 5 meters, the 15 meters, the 25 meters, these are all important marks that help the swimmer and the officials understand where the swimmer is at. I hope I was able to answer that question. Beyond this, we'll encourage you all to please write to us, share with us your thoughts, your questions that we can further develop into our other webinars and support you all. We do have a few sessions lined up, and some even with a few architects that we from India and beyond to support you. So with this, we would like to end today's session. And again, thank you all for being part of it, and look forward to your participation in our future webinars as well. Thank you very much.